senior person, what trouble does he has? What help does he need? I can actually help you with a few questions.
Okay.
How can I reduce my child's screen time and digital dependency? It's actually similar to the problem of youngsters, but from another side. How can I prevent burnout and find a better work-life balance?
Well, number one, we know is that the parents, they give a tablet to 4 or 5 year olds, more like a babysitter, because the parents are very busy and often have to work a lot. And so that kind of habit of working with a tablet, with a screen, is often established at very early ages. And then at one point, they realize that this is not good because it hampers the kids in their social development and things like that. So the parents have to be prepared to sacrifice some of their time to be with the children and to help them arrange for things where they can meet other kids, go to some sports, football or ice hockey or, whatever, that they help to find other sources of stimulation and happiness than just a screen. So this is number one.
What's the practical solution in this?
Well, connect with the kid first, because if you're disconnected, then the kid will connect to the tablet or the computer instead.
Do you know any easy way how to connect with a kid?
Spend time with them, read some nice fairy tales, bedtime stories, go places with the kids together, make a picnic or go see a movie. There's so many things you can do. You can, even if you pick them up at school, you can engage in nice conversation, show some genuine interest. I used to tell my kids that, generally when you ask them, so how was school today? And they say, good. Well, it doesn't say me anything. So I told me, give me a Hemingway. What is a Hemingway? There's a famous American writer, Ernest Hemingway. He had wonderful descriptions of things. So if he want to describe an apple, he doesn't say, oh, it tastes good. No, he said, oh, it was really surprised and when I bit through the peel, the crispy sound, and then I was met with a juicy, little acidic, but sweet taste. And then there was this he was very detailed.
Your example for the kids?
Yeah, I told them how to describe an apple when you bite an apple. If you don't say it was good, tell you what you experience. And if they do that, well, yeah, we had gym, that was nice, we were playing, and then, we had geography, and I met this person, and blah, blah, blah. It becomes more meaningful. This is a way to connect, So in this society where things are getting more and more stressful for parents, they put them in daycare homes early, and it's no wonder that the connection becomes less and less, and then the kids, they grow up and then they just resort to screen time.
We spoke a little bit about family and kids, about family and elderly people. There's a popular, for me it's a very funny and sad question at the same time. How can we talk, so people are searching online, how can we talk to our family or friends about death and end-of-life planning more openly? It seems to be funny because what the hell, I never spoke about, in my generation that never happened. Now it seems to be some kind of agendas in many cases.
Who is asking that question? Is that an old person? Or
here. It's like generalized topic, let's say. Not so good caring children who wants to have easy life with their elderly parents.
That's also something. In Sweden, they used to put them in the old days, at least in something called old people's homes, when they were not so capable of taking care of themselves. So they have these institutions somewhere way in the forest where, younger people didn't have to see them. They were sitting there spending the last years in these old people's homes. So there is a concern on not being confronted with the inevitable. And that goes back to the Mahabharata, the story of the Pandavas and what's the greatest mystery. And I said, yeah, I see everyone, my grandfather's, grandmother's, friends, they die.
Said it, right?
That was Yuristir. The other four were already dead. So. And then his father Yamaraj asking this riddle of the greatest mystery. And then he said, well, we see everybody dies, but we still think this is never going to happen to me. That's correct. And then he woke up his brothers again, So this is so deeply engraved. And it's because our innermost nature is eternal, immortal. We don't die. So when you confront, and I was thinking about the other thing, when you take a photo or video, we call that to perpetuate a situation. So I take a photo of you, and that will last forever, capturing the moment. Of course, the reality is that very few people pull out the photo albums and look at it, but that happens. So there's a desire to some or another stay in the now and make it eternal,
Yeah.
So it's kind of part of our nature because we are eternal.
I put it in easy terms. It's just selfish people caring about self sense gratification. I think.
Well, selfish people in what sense?
Like,
just to take a photograph
the
or
kids with elderly parents.
Oh yeah, right. We don't. You don't really want to take care of your parents. Therefore, you put them in old people's homes, or some another distance yourself because you're very busy. As a child, you're very dependent on parents. Every day you need them for food or for maintenance. But then you grow up, you get your own family, you get your own job, and then father and mother becomes a kind of commodity. You can call them sometimes. And it differs from family to family, but the general trend is there that when my parents die, I don't want to have a lot of trouble, like this. It's attachment. This is how life works.
It's a big question to me how it happened in, so to say, Western society, because I know from my country that there were like big, not villages, but like manors where people lived together.
Generations,
yes. Like 20, 30 people in one place.
Yeah.
And I think that's still the case in many cases, like in India.
India, absolutely. In the rural areas.
Why it's deviated here?
It's different culture, and it's so high-paced, the modern society. There's not much room. Before we had television or radio, and you were living out there in Siberia, whatever, went to your tent, and you associated, you hang out, and they were telling stories, they were singing songs together, they interacted. So many stories. But nowadays, everybody wants to be their own little lord and enjoy. I have my own tablet or computer, and I just scroll to whatever I want to see.
How do you think it happened, and why? And what's the way back, if we actually need the way back?
It's always good to be more connected with one another and with God. So, I guess it happens also because we live in the age of Kali, where there's dispute and conflict for the smallest little thing. The family, they can fight about the remote control, for example. I want to look at this, I want to look at that. Then, you look, and then I have my own tablet. I go to my own room, So it becomes more and more individualized. I don't need a partner. I don't need a husband. I don't need a man.
2 toilets, 3 toilets.
Yeah. One toilet connected to each bedroom, and so more and more independent. That's also a disease, because we are here because we have a desire to be independent of God. I don't need God. I can be perfectly happy myself. So this is probably a development due to the influence of Kali Yuga. If you have to consider other people, or to speak about God, but you consider other people in the family, you always have to compromise with your own desires.
Yes.
Yeah. So it means that I don't get my way 100%. I have to.
When Indians get together, they're like pushing each other. They don't mind doing that.
No.
And why do we distance half 2 meters from each other?
That was COVID.
No, it happened before COVID.
Yeah, social distance. I mean,
it actually brought people together, I think.
Yeah, we don't really see that. These advantages of have generational living, because older people who are retired. They don't have to work. They can help with small things. They can take care of children, which means you don't have to drive them to nursery and pay a monthly fee because you have the grandfather or grandmother taking care of them. And they feel useful. And then, they can help with cooking dinner together. This is another thing that become more and more. Like when I was a child, like 70 years ago almost, then there was a lot more cooking done at home. Not so much restaurants and fast food. But now many people, they don't even know how to cook, even girls or boys. So they just go to pizzeria or they go to McDonald's. They go very fast, instant gratification.
Same about repairing things.
That's also true.
When it's broken, you just throw it. It's just...
Yeah. Wear and tear. It's like you buy a iron to iron clothes. Something's wrong, you can hand it into a workshop and they charge a little fee and they fix it for you. But now there are no workshops really, and they just have to throw it away and recycle it, as they say.
Okay.
You buy a new one.
I know people, we already spoke about a little bit about ChatGPT, so how people come to ChatGPT to ask smart questions about self-exploration. A few other prompts that people would write. So it's not really a prompt, they prepare. So they go to some website and make a natal card.
A what?
Some natal chart.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what it is.
It's some horoscope or...
Horoscope. And then they upload this to this and maybe some other things. Cobble test, I have no idea what that is. Any personality test to ChatGPT, ask it, what am I to do with my life? What do you think about these practices?
The thing is, you can look at it on different levels. On one material level, you can always go and make a horoscope. If you can find some qualified astrologer, they are quite rare.
What does it mean, qualified?
Qualified is properly trained.
Does it only mean he must be sincere? His main quality.
Well, sincere may be expressed by you taking a good education. If you're sincere, you are not self-taught. You cannot teach yourself to be a good astrologer. So, and in the East, like in India, they have, the square horoscopes, and in the West we have the round ones. There are some good Western astrologers. It's also mixed with a certain touch of intuition, but this is like a science. And the science which is mostly detailed, it comes from the old Vedic tradition. It's an old book called Ora Shastra, and there are some very good, sincere and trained Vedic astrologers one can go to. But they basically give you some insight into your conditioned nature and, what's going to happen later, your karma, your material reactions to it. But if you really want to know you have to find a sincere and trained and genuine spiritual master, a guru.
Guru.
Yeah, tad vidi pranipatina pariprashtanasya. A person who really wants to know himself has to find a genuine guru and ask the right kind of questions and be humble and listen to the answer. Because the task of a guru is to know his disciple, and he can do that because he has very good vision, very good wisdom. He can read person like this. So the guru can help the disciple very much to learn about himself, his real self, plus give that person a proper engagement so he can develop more and more in his self-realization like that.
Why is ChatGPT not a great guru?
Because it's a machine. It mimics human behavior, and to know another person, it needs interaction. The disciple asks question, the guru gives answers, and the disciple get follow-up questions, and there is some practical application to that. The disciple goes home with a new wisdom and try to make it happen in real life like that. Another example, for example, is the vast literature of the Vedic literature, Vedic library. The Vedic library consists of knowledge for all kinds of people on different levels. So it is also the task of the spiritual master to understand which level the disciple is. If he just started school in the first grade, or if he's more on the university level, that makes a whole difference as to what kind of literature he should read and study, because that's part of the development. So if you're more advanced in spiritual life, the spiritual master said you should read this and this and that, you should read the Srimad Bhagavatam and this section of the Bhagavad Gita. He knows this. But if you don't know anything, well, then just read something very simple. You're not this body, etc., etc. So that's a task of the spiritual master too. ChatGPT cannot do that.
Then who qualifies as guru? It's not, I guess, easy to find guru.
In the old days, there was a culture. This is called the parampara or sampradaya, where spiritual master accepted a disciple made advancement, and then at one point maybe the guru wanted to retire, or maybe he left his body, and perhaps the disciple took up the task of becoming a guru. So it becomes like that. You're a disciple, you become a guru, and then you get another disciple, and that one will become a guru, and it moves on and on like this. Parampara, yeah, exactly.
Fruit in food.
Yeah, you can say that. Exactly, yeah. Parampara. So this is, and in the old days, this was a natural process. You find your spiritual master maybe in the next village. You go there in the evening and you listen to the saintly people talking, and you figure out, oh, this person really clicks in my heart.
That would be ideal situation. Like you have someone next to you. Maybe I can ask you, for example, right now something. But if I don't have it, for example, is a psychologist a good option?
Psychologist?
Psychologist.
To ask a psychologist?
Yes. If not ChatGPT, then...
Well, it's on the level of asking an astrologer, I would say. But the psychologist, originally the word psychology meant the science of the soul, psyche. But then it became the science of the mind. And the mind is materially conditioned. So that's not what it used to be. So you can ask a psychologist and get some insights. But if you really want to know yourself deeply, you have to find a real guru, a real spiritual master, who can help you do that.
In a church? Or in the village of India?
Well, yeah. I mean, the thing is, it's Krishna appears in two forms, you may say. One form is within your heart. He's there as Paramatma. And he can give you knowledge. Problem is, sometimes we have a hard time knowing what comes from Krishna and what comes from our mind. But then you have externally as the spiritual master, as the acharya, and they should speak the same language. If you think that Super Soul would tell you that, well, I have to dress up as a turtle and identify myself as a reptile, then it's probably the mind saying that, not the Super Soul. So if you are in doubt, you go and speak to the spiritual masters. I just got this realization that I should dress up as a turtle and become addressed as a reptile. And the spiritual master said, no, this is the mind. Don't listen to the mind. So they have to speak the same language, because both are Krishna. The acharya is the Krishna himself. It says in the Shastra. I was just reading it this morning again. And in the heart, there's the Super Soul. So you can know yourself. You can know your eternal, immortal, spiritual nature. You can also realize that you, by this knowledge, experience a certain kind of transcendental happiness, which is not the same as some flickering material enjoyment, but you are actually filled with ananda to a small extent, because you're a small jiva. Means spiritual bliss, eternal bliss. However, it's until you connect with the big person, Krishna, who is the unlimited reservoir of happiness, where you really experience your happy self, because you're connected, you're online with God. Yeah? Otherwise, you're just liberated. You don't want to have anything to do with the material world. I've done that, been there, got a t-shirt. It's just suffering. So I want to detach myself. Let's go up in the Himalaya. I can sit and meditate and become one with eternity or whatever. That's kind of peaceful. I feel good, But you're not connected with the ultimate source of all happiness. So that's the next step. So as a liberated person, if you're a mukta, then it's not a stable platform. Either you will fall down again because you miss the variety, you miss the activities, the action, or you proceed towards bhakti, pure bhakti, relationship with Krishna. So then you go beyond liberation to loving devotional service, like that. Anyway, it became a little deep here.
In Malmö, Sweden, where can a person go to find guru?
Good question. We do have a center there, and there are regular programs. Like on Saturdays, we have readings from the Bhagavad Gita, quite nice, like discussion. And on Sunday, there is a regular program with kirtan, and sometimes there may be some senior.
It means
chanting Hare Krishna,
the name of God.
singing, chanting, dancing, you know,
And
having a
it's
good time.
Easy for a regular person, isn't it?
Well, you know,
Why should someone regular go to the place like this?
well, if you go to Rome, be as the Romans do, they say.
Why should I go to Rome?
No, this is just an expression. So, I mean, you can just sit and watch and have a good time, but you can also participate. It's up to you. This is not a material thing, so there's nothing to be shy about or afraid or like that. Just, you know, you're with friends. If you took the trouble, come to the temple there in Malmö, and why not just enjoy it while you're there? You know, it's.
But because I've been there, I might ask a question as if I came for the first time. So, for example, I come and sit quietly in the corner and observe what's happening, and then people start chanting some like some songs or what it is. What is the text of these songs? Why do they sing and then they read the lecture? Why it's like that?
That is the way devotees act when they get together, because it's a part of the devotional process, and it starts by simply hearing, just like sitting in the corner, just by hearing something happens, resonates within you as a spirit soul. It's like a gradual awakening.
For example, if I come for the first time and I hear some guy singing like Hare Krishna for 15 minutes, I get fed up with this.
You do?
If I'm the newbie, I mean.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
All right.
I got very like, oh, come on, let's move on. What's next? Why is still it a good process? Can you explain?
Well, you know, they can always take a break. Difference between mundane, material chanting or singing or music and spiritual is that the spiritual resonates with you, with the soul. So generally what happens is that you find it as a very fresh experience because it's a sound vibration that you haven't really heard before. So that's the difference between mundane things. If you still think it's too much, you can always go out and, you know, have a breath of fresh air or something like that. And we have a free will. Devotees, they respect the free will as well. The whole tradition is about attracting people to Krishna, not forcing them to Krishna, because that doesn't do any good.
So, for example, the program started, everyone sings, okay, I got some paper, I also try to read these weird letters. Why don't you sing in like in Swedish or in English? Why you sing in Sanskrit or what is this language?
One can do that too. There's no harm in that. There are poems in English original, but also in Bengali, that has been translated into English. One can make into songs. So they also have a spiritual effect, inspiring, purifying. If you keep them in the original language as they were either told by Krishna or Lord Chaitanya or written down by Bhaktivinoda Thakur or Narottam Das Thakur, any of those great teachers, they carry special potency because they're really original, coming from saintly persons. So, but Krishna speaks every language, so even if you write a heartfelt prayer in Russian, he understands that and he will be happy to be the recipient of that prayer.
From a standpoint of a newbie or like a passerby, it looks like it's a congregation for Indians.
Yeah,
because
that's their culture.
Why should we go there? Everyone should, like in Malmö, Swedes or other people should go there.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, It didn't used to be so many Indians, but it's their culture. They had it in India. They feel at home when they come, more at ease. So there become a shift. Originally, it was only one Indian. It was Prabhupada in 1966. We could call him an Indian because he's a pure devotee, not his body. But then he attracted so many white people, hippies, to the movement. And then he came back to India, and they were shocked seeing Prabhupada with all his white people surrounded. And then something clicked with the Indians. Maybe this is something for us too, that we can, reconnect. So it's been growing like that, and Hinduism is a very broad kind of religion.
Even one religion, I guess.
No, there are so many demigods, we may say. There's only one supreme God, but he has so many powerful demigods assisting.
He also disguises behind many names. So Krishna is only one of those names.
Yeah. The Supreme Personality of Godhead has innumerable names, but then he also has the demigods. They have many different names, some of them.
It's very easy to misunderstand what's going on. Is Ganesh a god or he's a demigod? He's like someone else.
Yeah, he's a jiva. He's a soul like you and me, a son of Shiva. Shiva's a little special. He has some more names like, Rudra and Shambhu, Shiva, like this. But, demigods, they generally go with, just one name, like Vayu, Indra, Surya, Chandra, Brahma.
What is better, to sing Hare Krishna or sing songs about all gods or godly names?
Well, Hare Krishna is called the Maha Mantra. So that's like the daily meditation for a Vaishnava. But there's so many others. Like Lord Chaitanya, he was chanting one song, Hari Haraya Ram. He was chanting Haraya Nama Krishna Yadavayan Namaha Gopal Govinda Ram Sri Madhusudan. He says, this is another way of chanting Hare Krishna mantra. There's also names of Vishnu. Jaya Radha Madhava, Kunja Bihari, Gopi Janabalaba. So Krishna has unlimited names, and any one of them are good to chant. Krishna is kind of very fundamental because it means the all-attractive source of all happiness. So when we say Krishna, Rama.
What if I'm originally Christian, came attracted by the Vedic philosophy? I chant Hare Krishna at these gatherings, but also pray to, say, Jesus.
Yeah.
In this case, should it work? Or
Prabhupada said clearly Jesus was a pure devotee.
Okay.
And frankly speaking, if we look at the activities of these two gentlemen, Srila Prabhupada and Jesus, and also Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, they are all acting as Shakti Avesh avatars. That means Jiva soul, which are given special power, Shakti. Jiva can have a human body, can have a turtle body or elephant body or anything, But the perfection for a Jiva in this world is to get a human body, because that's where we really can make these kind of inquiries that you have been doing today about what is the meaning of life and etc. So Prabhupada and Jesus, they are carriers, special given mandate by representing God and helping re-establishing religion in different ways. Jesus established it in the Middle East in his particular way. Prabhupada established it by giving us Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, the creme de la creme of the Vedic knowledge, etc. Even Lord Buddha or the Prophet Muhammad, they established some kind of religion in a particular way, in a particular time, etc. So,
okay, then a person comes to the center like this, in Malmö, in Lund, in Copenhagen, wherever, finds devotees, chants Krishna, and maybe chants also the holy names with the beads, like one does. Why it's a separate?
I wanted to tell you before when I spoke about Krishna's in your heart, but it's also external as the spiritual master. They cooperate. The qualification is sincerity, like you were mentioning before. Sincerity is required for anything you want to be successful in. So it's explained in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Brahmanda Brahmita Kona Bhagyavan Jiva, Guru Krishna Prasada by Bhaktilata Bij. So the living entity, the Jiva, has been wandering around in this universe. They call it Brahmanda, the egg of Brahma, since time immemorial. But by the mercy, prasad, of Guru and Krishna, the Bhaktilata Bij, the seed of the Bhakti plant, of the devotional service, is been planted in the heart. They see a person who is sincere. So Krishna from in the heart, well, maybe you should go to the center in Malmö, and maybe places somebody there that can help and guide, and then they work together. Okay?
So you have to attain some level of sincerity.
Exactly, I want to get there. Because when you come to this world, you have the desire to enjoy separately from Krishna, and you have all these plans. So, all right, Krishna makes you forget your true identity, and he presents so many distractions from your actual function as a, doing devotional service. So you want to serve family, country, and your employer and the school teacher, or whatever. So you're totally distracted. That's what happened when you come to this world. And the world has universal laws, the law of gravitation, we know, but also the law of karma and the law of dharma, that, you follow these, trying to be an honest person, not create suffering for other living beings, etc. If you do that, you get some bonus. This is called sukriti, Kriti comes from action, and su means basically good. So for good action, you can get a better birth, next life, better. And at one point, the accumulated sukriti makes you qualified for receiving the Bhaktilata Bij. That's the long path. If you follow the, like stated in the Vedas, the Dharma, Artha, Kama, you follow the ethical, moral laws, then you get some wealth and some opportunity for kama, for material sense enjoyment. It's like a system, right? That's the slow path. The fast path, if you get the causeless mercy by a pure devotee or from Krishna himself, they can pick you up from any. That's Lord Chaitanya's mood. He even gave mercy to Jaga Yamada. They had a criminal record, several pages, violence and, molesting people, and they were crazy. That's a story from the Chaitanya Charitamrita and the Chaitanya Bhagavata. And by the mercy of Lord Nityananda, particularly, and Lord Chaitanya, they were just given pure bhakti like this, undeservedly. Krishna is more critical. He says, first you surrender, then I take care of you. It says in the Bhagavad Gita. So you accumulate this sukriti. This being said, you don't even have to believe in God. You don't have to be a religious person. You can be an atheist. If you follow those universal laws of trying to be a good person, honest, helpful, like that. There are many atheists who donate money to the poor and this and that. But then you accumulate sukriti. At one point you start believing, well, must be some lawgiver behind these universal laws. So you're not only surrendering to the laws, you're also surrendering to the person who made the laws, and then you become a believer, a religious person, a theist, and you gradually start to surrender to God. First in a regulated way, go to church or a synagogue or mosque once a week, and then you become more and more into it, like this. Finally, you can become a spontaneous devotee to the Lord.
That's interesting. I heard one Indian guy, probably not so well aware of Vedic knowledge, he said that just by chanting 16 rounds of japa, he will be, coming to Goloka Vrindavana. Is it true or not?
Depends on how you chant it.
Okay.
Yeah, there are different ways. You can chant it very badly, very poorly. That is called nama aparad. Aparad means not beneficial, like this. And then, like the most of us, we chant called nama bas. That means like a shadow chanting. The lips are moving. Sometimes we listen and focus. Sometimes the mind is drifting away. But when you come to the platform of Shuddhanam, the pure name, where you're totally focused and absorbed in the sound vibration, there's nothing else going on, that will very, very quickly lead you to your original position as a pure lover of Krishna.
And I suppose that to chant clearly.
Mm.
It's not enough to chant.
How
You
do you-
have to associate with devotees. You have to do some service.
That is the
More-
most
more than
important
just-
principle, yeah. What brings you to Krishna consciousness is this little curiosity
Mhm.
where Krishna tells you, maybe you should check out this place, and see what they're doing. And then when you get there, you hang out with devotees. That's the association with saintly people that they say in the books. And wherever there are devotees, there is chanting, there is service, there's so many things with Krishna in the center. So that's why they say everywhere, of all the principles, the association of devotees is the most important one.
So he can even drop his japa.
Well, devotees do japa and they encourage you to do japa. Japa you do in private mostly in the morning, because it's not that devotees are always available. If you have work, you may get up early in the morning, take a shower, get dressed, and then you sit down in your favorite corner. Maybe you make a little altar in your home, a sacred space, and you sit with your japa, just you and Krishna alone for 15 minutes, half an hour, maybe an hour, and just chant the japa and listen. Time stops and you elevate your consciousness like this. And there are no other devotees there except you. So,
One question that I want to also continue with is there was questions on the internet. One of them was, how can I contribute to my local community and combat growing feelings of loneliness or polarization? Maybe a person who is enlightened or inspired by visiting such arrangements where people chant, and actually he becomes or she becomes happy, but knowing it from myself, it's only for a short period of time. After next time life hits you, you're already miserable again, and all comes back. So how to actually maintain this feeling and probably develop it throughout the community somehow?
yeah, I mean, you have to be somewhat progressed yourself. Like we say, doctor, heal thyself. So before you can try and help the community spiritually, you can always go there and help pick up garbage or, whatever they do. But this is simply a material activity, maybe more in the mode of goodness. But if you really want to help them spiritually, you need to be stronger yourself. And that comes from study of scriptures. So you learn the philosophy, not just memorizing it, but actually experiencing it, right? And when you go and see other devotees, you kind of charge your batteries like this. So simply being more engaged in the local community may be a step in the right direction, but it's mostly a social and slightly mundane activity. You always have time to sit down wherever you are, in your home or on the bus, and just silently chant japa. Because if you start to feel down, every day should be like a regulated meeting with God, So you recharge your spiritual batteries. If you do that on a daily basis, you will maintain a good level of your spiritual consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
Prabhupada gave 4 very simple principles for a devotee lifestyle. Briefly, take care of your body, eat properly, sleep properly, keep it clean, healthy. Otherwise you can't do anything. You can't even be a successful demon if you don't take care of your body. You understand? So this is like a given as long as we carry these biological lumps of stuff. Then, taking care of the body, it doesn't cause you any problems, doesn't disturb you, pain or hunger or thirst. Then you can take care of your mind by mantra. Mantra means mana trayate, to liberate and protect your mind. Then you start chanting, and then you elevate your mind into a peaceful state when you feel connected with the Supreme. With this thing, taking care of the body, taking care of the mind, then you can do devotional service, seva, in the proper mood. That's number 3. And the last one.
People, you mean?
Huh?
Devotional souls to the society.
To Krishna and to other people. When you inform or teach other people, or just give them prasadam or whatever, or just be a lovely spiritual person that they're attracted to, that's also service. He says in the Gita, Krishna, that whoever gives this knowledge to others is the most dear devotee. But to be able to do that, you have to some or another master it yourself first. Otherwise, I remember when I was a new enthusiastic beginner, was one of my friends who introduced me to Krishna consciousness. We were having a program, small group of friends. He was there and I was there. And I started to talk to them about Krishna, this and that. And then he very gently said, hey, let the devotees do the preaching. And then I realized I should just not, enthusiastically jump the bridge like that. So, and that's also, when you give the most pleasure to Krishna, you will also feel most pleasure yourself. That's how it works.
Mm. Right.
But if you're not doing it properly, you can actually turn people away from Krishna.
What about things like helping society in, like, by donations, by some other means you have, lending a car, I don't know.
Helping society? You mean the Society for Krishna Consciousness? Or at large?
I don't care if I want to just, enlightenment for myself, whatever works best.
Yeah, that's a good concept, because that's part of the Dharma, that you need to be a good person. Like if
Dharma
you
means like
that means your religious duty. Yeah, that you follow these universal laws, I was saying.
Right.
So if you see a person who is suffering and you're just ignoring, this is his karma, and then you walk away, you're actually committing passive violence, not active violence, but passive, by not helping. See? So if you see somebody that you can help, as a good devotee, he does that. Prabhupada did that, everybody does that. Not that you get all entangled, that have to open charity houses, homes for the homeless and stuff, or hospitals or whatever. There's so many other people doing that already. So as a devotee, you should focus more on the spiritual things. We open hospitals in ISKCON too, like we have one or some. That's good, specifically for devotees. The doctors are all Vaishnavas, chanting 16 rounds and wearing tilak. It's a wonderful place to go if you're sick. But to do that to serve the general populace, bringing people who, maybe they drank too much alcohol and their heart collapsed, and then you help them in the hospital, then they go back out there and continue drinking alcohol till the next time the heart collapse. That's pretty useless. But you can still help somebody homeless, or, when I see homeless people or beggars, I generally don't give them cash. I give them something to eat, something tangible. And if you see an alcoholic beggar, you don't give them a bottle of wine, because it's just going to go down the drain. That's not helpful, is it?
Yeah, true. I heard you can give money to beggars as long as they congregate around churches.
Oh, I didn't hear that, but
like it has like this described as it's still beneficial, because the person came to the God's place.
Yeah.
In that sense,
sounds like a long shot, but anyway, the beggars work like this: that if they have a good day, now we're standing outside the church and I got so much more money, so I'm going to go back to the same spot tomorrow.
Actually, they use it.
Yeah. So maybe that's a small.
There's a lot of those who stand next to churches.
And it's also a way that the people been to the mass, they start feeling, I have to do something for God, I have to do something good. Oh, there's a beggar, I give some money. So it's also that goes both ways,
So your point is it's a bit risky still to give money to these kind of people.
Well, you have to do it. Krishna explains in the Bhagavad Gita that there are charity in the mode of ignorance, charity in the mode of passion, charity in the mode of goodness. So in the mode of goodness, you make sure that what you give is going to benefit the person one way or another, preferably bring him a little closer to Krishna. It has to be a worthy individual like this. So you can read that section in the Bhagavad Gita, explains very clearly what are the different kinds of charity that you can give.
Yeah, last but not least, I wanted to mention that actually the center we discussed today also requires some charity and help, because it's basically based on personal activities of people that visit it. It's not super sponsored as far as I know.
Not much, no.
Some sponsorship.
You get a little bit from Malmö commune for the children activity and language cafes and stuff, but it doesn't cover everything at all.
Yeah.
No.
What I wanted to share is what I like about the center like this, because I went there, is that people are doing, let's say, crazy stuff, like all this chanting for nothing. they don't get any rewards. So, and that's so funny in a way, because well, they spend time, they cook, they clean or whatever, they prepare some arrangements. Still, they call it it's for Krishna. In material way, it's for nobody. It's for a small statue of a person called Krishna, and that's it. They give him food, they take it away, and that's actually inspiring. I felt that when I came, that this is the kind of interaction. Like, it's easier to sing songs in this congregation than when you go to the choir, for example. Maybe in a choir it's still okay to sing songs because you are hidden by other people, but here you feel at the same time stupid and liberated, because they don't pay you, they're not your audience, and we are all like singing for Krishna. I have a few other points from the internet which I found as funny. How can I afford to buy a first home, and how long is it? Is the booster skirt? It's a stupid one, but it was the first one I considered it.
This is things that bothers young people, you know. It's becoming increasingly more difficult to get your own home, you know, to get loans on the bank. And so this is also part of the gross materialistic culture that some powerful forces try to impose on society, to kind of dissolve the family structure and make the women free, in the sense that, you know, they can be more vulnerable to indiscriminate men, like unprotected, we may also say. So also separating the children from the family and putting them in daycare homes. And I mean, this is all part of the... So to be having hard time getting your own apartment or house, that's... Rents are going up, and it's more and more expensive to buy a house or anything. So, yeah.
But it's not Krishna's deal, right?
No, this is the natural progress of Kali Yuga. Krishna's delegated this whole development to his external energy, to Maya, because this is the cycles that the material creation goes through. For the benefit of us, so we have a mixture of enjoyment and suffering, so we may start questioning our situation. When I was a kid, I thought there must be more than that. You know, I go to school, I graduate, I get a job, I buy a Volvo and a villa, I get married, get some kids, and eating and going to the toilet. Must be something more to life than that, you know, when I was already a kid. So these things may come up in the brain of a human being, asking those questions, you know, and then what's the meaning of it? Is there a God? What happens after death? You know, who am I? So then things starts to roll and move.
Kind of imply some positive thinking to your negative situation, like, why did God give me this situation? Yeah, is it what you're saying?
Well, this situation is a product of my misidentification as a material body. It's part of my karma. So it's basically automatically designed by the decisions I make, by the actions I do. Instead, you know, yam vap ismaranta and chanti kalevaram. In the Gita, whatever state of consciousness you're in at the moment of death will continue in your next life. So you're the product of the choices you make and the actions you do, and like that. So Krishna's not directly involved in all this. He's enjoying in Vrindavan, Goloka Vrindavan. This is taken care of by the external energy, Maya, and the three modes, goodness, passion, and ignorance. So they give you this life that you ask for, you know.
All right. I don't have more questions.
Okay. That was nice talking. I hope something got stuck on tape, as we say.